Okay, we'll do it at the same time. Are you ready? Wait, can you see the little cricket? It's still moving, can you see? It's happy. Come on, 1, 2, 3.
Not everyone's prepared to eat an insect, but here we are at Paris's Science Museum, and this stand has attracted a lot of attention. It's teeming with crunchy little creatures.
It's weird when you eat it, when you bite into it. There's this strange liquid that comes out. It's quite crunchy, then it gets a bit juicy. Yeah, that's right.
Entomophagy, that's the consumption of insects as food, is starting to gain popularity in France, where it's still relatively uncommon. But 1/3 of the world's population eats insects on a regular basis.
In Réunion, they eat wasp larvae. In Asia, they eat migao spiders, scorpions, crickets, locusts. They're bred specifically. It's a cultural thing.
Olivier's brought along some crickets and mealworms and is hoping to talk to as many people as possible about the unexpected goodness to be found in insects.
I've just eaten a cricket that's 100% protein. We're frying it here, so it will retain 80% of the protein. When you fry a steak, I like my steak well done. You lose all the protein. You destroy all the protein. Whereas here with the insect, we hold on to it. There is no fat.
It also means Olivier can de-dramatise entomophagy.
You eat insects already, just not in this form. You can't see them. But if you look on the packaging, in the ingredients, you'll see E120 colouring. Do you know what that is? No. Carmine E120 is Cochineal. This little white insect, that's a Cochineal insect. When you grind up the female and her eggs, you get a red colouring. It's widely used in food and cosmetics.
In France, you'll mostly find insects in colouring or flour. Widespread insect consumption in Europe ended in the Middle Ages. The European Union's been investigating insects as the food of the future, but they've yet to hit the supermarket shelves in France, where they're not yet authorised for the market.
They're not allowed to sell insects for human consumption, but there are a few private companies that import them and then sell them on.
Like Jiminy's, launched last year by Clément and Bastien. Their insects come from a breeding farm in Holland. They've been dried and then flavoured, so they can be served as an appetizer with pre-dinner drinks.
We use grasshoppers and mealworms, and from these two insects, we've developed 5 products. We have used 3 different spices for the mealworm, and the grasshopper has been prepared with a fruity curry flavour, and also with pepper and sun-dried tomatoes. We chose the appetizer, the pre-dinner drinks, for a good reason. It's a social event where you meet up with friends, and it's easier to break convention. So it's very easy. We pick up the grasshopper. It's like eating a prawn. We carefully pull off the wings. They come off very easily. We pull off the head and then we bite into it, like eating crisps. Then there are more adventurous ways of doing it, where you leave everything on. It tastes very different. It's very good. What do you think?
It's more bitter than I thought it would be. It's interesting. I don't want to touch it.
That's the mealworm.
When you touch them, it's like they're still moving. It has a stronger flavour, but I prefer the texture.
Exactly. There's more consistency to it. There is no distinction between the head and the body, for example.
It's gone down pretty well with most of Bastien and Clément's guests. Only Sophie didn't take the plunge. Don't think about it being a worm. I can't, it looks like one.
We don't want to force anyone. We don't want to replace meat or traditional nibbles. We just want to offer an alternative, something fun and unusual that makes a change from crisps and peanuts.
Grasshoppers and mealworms are relatively easy access products, but there are over 1,900 catalogued edible species worldwide. One can eat African caterpillars, silkworms, sago worms, ants, giant water bugs, beetles, and even arachnids like scorpions. Romain Fessin imports edible insects that he resells via his website. He's just published a recipe book so people can turn these little creatures into culinary delights.
We can make chocolate-covered strawberries, for example, with ants on top. So we have the crunchy insect coating and the soft strawberry filling. It's a great recipe. The aim is to show people how to introduce insects into their meals, not just putting them on canapes or in verrine, but making proper meals, replacing meat or fish with insects.
Today, however, Romain's holding a tasting session in a supermarket, so they are on canapes and in verrines. He's bought samples of the 60 different species he sells.
I'm making guacamole canapes with silkworm on top. These are crickets. They're bred in Thailand by a Frenchman, my partner.
Some of France's leading chefs and caterers are now using insects in their dishes. And we'll no doubt be seeing a lot more of these little creatures in the future, as they're seen by many as a great source of protein and a way of feeding the world when the global population hits 9 billion in 2050.